Hey, we're so grateful that you all are willing just to come up here and to share a little bit of what it means for you all to identify as an Asian American. And maybe we could just actually start with that question. Like, as we think about this month, what does it mean for you in this particular season of life to identify as an Asian American? We'll start with you, Keo, and then we'll just maybe pass the mic down the road.
I shouldn't have sat here. No, just kidding. So yeah, to me, one word comes to mind, which is duality. So being in two spaces and honoring two spaces at once. So this means like honoring my culture, honoring my lineage, knowing that I wouldn't be here today without the sacrifices that I stand on. But at the same time, like not listening to everything my parents tell me to do. Sorry, Mom. But yeah. And I knowing that I would not be the woman I am today if I did, and holding those two spaces. And I say that last part not because I'm countercultural, which I think both you and I share, and I think we turned out okay. So but because we need to accept and fully own our decisions as Asians.
Love it. Thanks, Keona. Jason, how about for you?
Yeah, so I'm Filipino American and was born and raised in Hawaii. And so there's a lot of Asian American Pacific Islanders there, which meant that I didn't feel othered. It was just part of life. But now coming here to Seattle by myself with no family around, predominantly white spaces, it's been a season of being curious about what it means to be Filipino American, and being curious about the histories of the Filipino Americans here and other Asian Americans here in Seattle and the work that they've done in places like the ID and all that. So reverence is the word that comes to my mind, because I don't think I had that sort of reverence growing up, just because everyone looked like me. There was no challenging or reason for me to be curious about my histories because it was just all around me. And so again, honoring my past, honoring the sacrifices my parents, grandparents, great-grandparents have made to get me here to this place, while also looking out for those that are doing this kind of social justice work from the past and here in the present, for me to look up to. Yeah.
So good. Thanks, Jason. How about you, Victor?
Something Olivier said reminded me of this book called The Making of Asian America. And I think that's something that I definitely think everyone should read that book. It talks a lot about how, Asians, how they came about to come to America in the first place. And it's actually through not very great means, which it's basically after slavery. It's just a different form of slavery, essentially. But I think that understanding that history has really helped me navigate a lot of different spaces, because I used to run a startup, to be in spaces with a lot of white CEOs, and sometimes I'd feel like they were looking down on me because I was the only Asian guy in the room, and also I was a lot younger. But I think it's just like kind of understanding my history and bonding with others in the space have helped me kind of come to that. It's like I have to reconcile my own imposter syndrome along with this extra tax of being in these other spaces and not really knowing how to navigate sometimes, or not knowing whether it's me or if it's because of my culture or the way I look. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. Hey, we'll keep the mic with you and we'll go to the second question. How would you say your Asian American identity informs your faith? What would be your response to that?
Yeah, I think it's something I've been struggling with for a lot of my life, which is reconciling like our Asian culture along with the theology. I grew up in a very conservative Chinese church, and I would say a lot of the culture bled into the theology. Whether it's, for example, always listen to your elders, do everything that they say, don't question them, and that was always something that bothered me. And when we talk about being rebels, right? I think there's a precedent for that, right? We should be ultimately we're following God, right? And yes, there's really good things about our culture. But there's also things that maybe don't really belong or that need to be redeemed in a way. There's always like these good things, but yeah, it can be taken the wrong way.
Yeah, glad you touched upon that. For me, I think about my grandma. I grew up Catholic. and she was the matriarch, and she was heavily involved in the Catholic Church, was like the president of the Filipino Women's Catholic Club, made me sit in front of people and pray the rosary. So, I mean, part of it made me feel comfortable public speaking. But the thing that she did well, and I see it in other Filipino families as well, is bringing together folks around food and prayer. She always had us, she would lead prayers when someone had died. For Easter, we had to go to their house. She made us go to what we called Misa de Gallo during Christmas. And that is core memories of that I have. That informs my faith of like this communal aspect. It's shared, it's communal, it's with other people. And the other word that comes to mind when I think of my grandma is steadfast, because I think that she had to endure, as a lot of immigrant folks had to endure so much to get here at this point, that it was faith that was steadfast in her. Like she would, till her death, would pray for each of our family members, and even like third cousins, if they came to mind, would like pray for them. And like during her funeral, one of my third cousins was like, I remember that time when your grandma said she was praying for me, and actually I was going through a hard time. And that steadfastness and hope is what connects me to my faith too. And I owe it all to her for that model.
You're a very good storyteller. And yeah, yes, of course. And yeah, I grew up, wishing I was white in high school. I remember feeling that othered. And so being Asian and loud and proud in this world, just our being, I think is an act of faith, because we're seeing all these white faces in power, and American culture is centered around whiteness. So just being Asian is an act of faith. And then to come back to this duality being, I think many of us grew up in child of immigrants. And, I look back on little Keona now, and I just want to give her a big hug when she was, acting out. But I know now that she was just acting out in the faith of the Asian American that God created her to be.
Love it. Hold on to that mic here. Last question for the panel. What are some of the ways that you are currently showing up for the AAPI community and/or other minoritized, marginalized groups?
Yeah, so coming back to, again, this holding two spaces, honoring two spaces, knowing that the qualities our parents, that got our parents here, like putting our heads down and working, valuing harmony, listening to our elders, those are great and have a place, but those can turn into being passive, not speaking up when certain situations call for that. I think we saw this in 2020, the racial unrest, BLM movement, and when Asians were getting targeted, not being able to speak up for ourselves as well. So it's just bad all around. And then, what was my other thought?
No, it's good. If it comes back to you, we'll come back to you.
How I support.
Yeah. How are you showing up for the Asian American community?
Yeah. So, because I do have that awareness of that duality, like I'm able to better sit down and speak up for if my Asian brother, AAPI Asian brother or sister, like says something sideways, I can come up to them with a level of empathy and understanding. And also as a business owner, I love partnering with, people of color and, knowing that being in the creative industry is an act of faith as themselves as like all the pressures of a child of immigrant has. So, yeah.
Ways I'm showing up to support would be supporting other businesses, the Asian American businesses. I get so excited when I see other Asian Americans, and specifically, again, Filipino Americans, because I've never had that sort of model growing up, selling their artwork, selling their pieces. Like I get excited just to hear their stories and see other folks being successful at what they do. I have the privilege of working for a nonprofit that centers BIPOC folks, BIPOC families in the education system, as well as immigrant families. So I get to show up in spaces as who I am, share my cultural experiences, stories with them, and also learn from other folks, other cultures, and for this organization specifically, East African countries, is amazing. And we touched on like challenging the things that we grew up with. I identify as a gay cis man, and so ways that I'm challenging myself to show up now as an Asian American and a gay man is helping with other folks kind of reconcile their faith, their sexuality, and even their culture. And we'll talk about that later with the co-ops, but that's something that I'm trying to do.
Thanks, Jason. I think what you guys shared is awesome because I think what I'm hearing from Keona and Jason, it's like this concept of representation, right? I think that's in terms of what I like to do, right? I want to make sure that I talk about what I do, right? We speak out, right? And we need to speak out so that others can hear, so that others can see that representation. And I think representation in media really matters, right? And so how I do that is primarily through mentorship. I think relationships are the biggest thing, right? I think in the spaces I'm in, I'm able to mentor folks in a lot of different ways, whether it's startups or being an Asian American or in athletics or a lot of different ways. And so I think that's the way I show up is through those relationships, through mentorship and or help leading a co-op at Common Good. Yeah.
Love it, love it. Hey, can we give it up for these fine folks? So grateful for your stories and the ways in which you are able to articulate those. And the hope is this, that it would cause us, you and I, to consider even similar questions for ourselves, certainly this month, but certainly as we continue to navigate what it looks like to show up for ourselves and for our communities as well. So can we give it one more time for these folks? If you're able, would you stand to your feet? I want to invite us to sing this next song. And I think it's a beautiful song that Olivia and Amanda wrote. And I think it really speaks to this idea of embracing and understanding the gift that we are, the unique ways in which God has created us to be, which includes, come on, can I get an amen? Our ethnic identities, right? And so let's sing this song together.
And all that I see in my mirror shouts out that I don't fit in here. I cling on the words that you said and rise from these ashes and shine. 'Cause I am all you say that I am. I am all you say that I am. I am all you say that I am, and I believe it. I believe it. When all that I feel deep inside says that I am weak and I'm poor, I look to the one who made me and say that I'm strong and I'm rich. Oh, I am all you say that I am. I am all you say that I am. Oh, I am all you say that I am, and I believe it. Oh, beautiful. I am wonderful. I am fearfully and wonderful. Sing it out. I am beautiful. I am wonderful. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am beautiful. I am wonderful. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Beautiful. I am wonderful. I am fearfully. I'm gonna sing by faith, even if you may not believe it. I am beautiful. Oh, I am wonderful. I am fearfully and wonderfully. One more time. I am beautiful. Sing it out. Wonderful. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. 'Cause I am all you say that